Good evening. I'm Russ Kane. This is the award-nominated, groundbreaking, ground-shaking ABC of CBD, exclusive to Men's Radio Station. Well, nearly coming up to the 100th episode, which I am beyond excited. I don't know what we're going to do. Absolutely no idea. We'll do something to celebrate this momentous occasion. Anyway, you know him. You love him, ladies and gentlemen. He is the hunk of hemp, the Maharaja of marijuana. He is the Count of cannabinoids. He is, of course, Mr. Ollie Mammon.
What's up? How you doing?
We're all right.
Hey, Russ,
we're all
happy
okay.
Thursday.
We're all okay. I don't know where the weeks go. It's amazing.
Happy
It always seems to be this show. Which is
to everyone tuned in last week, I apologize. We did a pre-record. However, we released a rerun last week. It was very important that we released that rerun. I don't know if any of you still don't know the story of Chris Stubbs. I think all of you should go back and rewatch last week's replayed episode. We originally had him on, I think, episode 20, so about 80 episodes ago. Chris Stubbs is such a forefather of this industry. He's done so much. And last week I had a little moment. I was like, you know what? This dude's story needs to be shared more and more. And if none of you have watched it, please go back and see it. It was an amazing, amazing episode. Welcome to episode 97, like Russ said.
Oh my God, episode 97.
It's incredible. I still can't believe we got here.
That's quite a thing.
I was in Barcelona last week, hence why we did. I was in Barcelona for the World CBD Awards, and I actually flew home before the gala dinner. Gala dinner was on Thursday night. I was on a plane on Thursday night, hence why I couldn't do the show.
Why didn't you stay for the dinner?
Honestly, there was a few different things. My parents have just arrived in London.
The food would have been great. It's Barcelona.
My parents have just arrived in London. I haven't seen them in a long time. I mainly wanted to go out there for a social networking event. Yeah. I'm not really much of a, formal attire type person anyway. And generally, it worked out well. I got to meet the people in the room I wanted to meet. Okay. But it was quite lovely walking around that room. And I had a few people like, I know your voice. I was like, sorry, what? They go, I know your voice. I don't know your face. I don't know your face, but I know your voice. And they were like, okay,
really?
You're ABC of CBD.
Get out.
And I was like, yeah, but let me guess, you hate me? And they go, no, we don't hate you. Don't hate you at all.
We hate the other guy, but we like you.
I was like, oh, cool. Got that voice. I kind of like that. Made me happy. The guys were really nice. They're on different sides of the industry. A couple on the growing side, a couple on the fertilizer nutrition side. But it was quite lovely, and it kind of made me realize how much we might have actually disseminated information across this community.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
The fact that we've got voices from really across the space, and we've really shown that there's been no single narrative. We've really just shared voices from across the industry. I feel like we've been very representative of the space, and it kind of made me happy that our show was even recognized, and that other people outside of our little CBD bubble, people in the growing world, the hydroponic world, people in the medical cannabis world, and people in these other bubbles out there, they've heard of us and what we're doing, Russ, and they've watched shows with our incredible guests who have literally made this show what it is. Like our guests.
From nothing, built it from scratch.
Every single one of them. And I still can't believe that we've managed to get the best part of 97 guests on the show. And
don't forget on some of the shows, Pop, because there's been more than one guest.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've been introduced. I think the record was 3. So
yeah, we had that's it. Like there were 5 of us on the show, and it's kind of actually. And to be honest, we had that time as well. We had all what's it called? The
guys from Liverpool we had.
And then the all-party parliamentary group as well, the APPG. Do you remember them? And they had 5 of them on the show. There was 3 on one screen and 1 on the other screen. Yeah. It's been it's been a great platform. So I'm really proud of what we've done.
If you're happy, I'm happy.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, time to pay the rent.
I'm sure you've heard before that good quality CBD needs to be really, really expensive. This is the new view of CBD, a product created by users for users, a product at an affordable price, available everywhere at any time at the simple click of a button. Just CBD and MCT oil. No additives, no preservatives, and no flavor enhancers. It's a simple subscription-based service. The cleanest possible CBD delivered to your door for the lowest possible price. Your product, your rights for the lowest possible price.
I gotta say, you had as a guest on, and I hadn't heard of them because I'm just a passenger here, really. The fellow who was the former Welsh rugby star, was it called 5-4, 4-5? What's the name of that company?
4-5, Dominic Day.
4-5, right? I'm buying their products now. And I don't.
He's English, by the way. He's not Welsh.
I thought he was Welsh. Who
Maybe
did
he
play
is
for?
Welsh and maybe he's not English. Maybe I've just made a mistake there.
No, he didn't play for England. He played for Wales.
Did he actually?
I think so.
Sell out.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Absolute sellout. If I knew he
I
played
don't know,
for Wales
maybe-
and not
maybe
for
played
England,
for
I would not
Bogota
have had
or
him on
something.
this
I don't know.
British show. I know,
I
I'm
have
joking.
no idea.
To be honest, apparently, what's it called? You know, like Wales are in the World Cup this year, which is incredible. I was just like, wow, kind of amazing.
You know, they're very good. They're very, very sportsmanlike.
I do like the Welsh.
And they
Anyone
can
who's
sing,
got a
and they
dragon
can
on
sing
their
a bit.
flag.
And they produced Tom Jones and Harry Seacombe. Moving on, and Bonnie Tyler. Can't think of it else. And Dylan Thomas.
Stop it.
Dylan Thomas. I won't stop it. Here's the thing. I started to take their products, and I thought, I'm going to give it a go. I like the guy, and I like the and I wouldn't endorse it. I mean, I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm just paying for them. Normally, there's no deal I'm getting. I'm just a punch. I'm just a customer. Very good.
And also,
The
listen,
service,
the
by the way, the service was fantastic. You place the order, I get it next day. It's
But
brilliant.
the way we're talking, the way he was talking as well, and he dissected competitor products on the marketplace, and from a athletic
Really made me
perspective,
think.
as someone who's used these products for so much time and not really questioned them, when you start to question them, you start to see issues. And at that moment, it was like a moment of clarity, and it was quite beautiful because he does it every time he comes on the show. He comes out with these like very simple, very logical ideas that unless you're in the place where they're kind of around you, you don't see them or think about them. You know, you almost need to be immersed in the idea to be able to understand it. And he's in that position where he's taking a lot of these supplements and he's taking a lot of these products and they're doing nothing. And he then starts to analyze these products and realize that actually they should be doing something. And I feel like that's what...
I'm totally with you. And what the point, anyway, then we must get our charming guest on. But the point he made that really resonated, made me think, was that, you take all this stuff, and I take loads of stuff every day, vitamins and supplements and everything, just to keep going. And you think, well, actually, does it do what it says on the tin? And how much percentage of what they're pretending, of what they're saying, you don't know, because you get a brand name, you think, well, I've used that for years. So I've switched over to him for vitamin C. And I'm also doing another thing. So I've got two of his products on the go, and I'm really
They're not that
impressed.
expensive, are they? They're affordable. They're competitively priced.
They're not. You're paying more. You're paying a bit more, but
you're getting a real product.
I'd rather pay a bit more and know that it's actually going to do what it says on the tin than pay less and pay lip service to something.
Also, another thing is
I just wanted to say, well done, thank you.
No, but he stands on that product. So worst case scenario, we'll bring on Dominic and we'll invite me, you, and 15 of our mates, and maybe we might be able to kick crap out of him. Maybe. I still think he would be able to take all of us. But I mean, it's worth a try, right?
Two things.
You're there too, Russ. You're front line.
No. Well, obviously, I'll be there to call I'm there to call the ambulance. That's my job.
That's what for me
and then let me
the
know
rest
which
of us.
branch.
I need 15 ambulances. These kids are about to do something stupid.
Let me know which branch of A&E you are in. Right.
Exactly. And I bet you Dominic will send me a care package once we're done as well. This is for your recovery, mate. Next time you do something stupid, remember what you're doing.
Yeah. And here's a walking frame. Right. Here we go.
Fine. Let's move on. Let's move on to today's show. So our guest today is a lady by the name of Allison Littlefield. She is the author and creator of Walter the Wizard. Okay, this is Walter the Wizard.
Let me see. I didn't see that.
A range of books. Okay, she gave me a little wizard when she gave me the book, and she signed it as well. It's signed. So this is special, this one. Anyway, cool. So over the course of the past 2 years, the 97 episodes we have created, we have heard many stories on how cannabis has saved children as a non-conventional form of medicine. Epilepsy, cancer, pain, autism. It can be seen that the whole craze of the CBD market started with the efforts of parents helping their sick children. And a continued supply of energy and push to this industry to achieve more than commercialism. So there have been so many parents who have been pushing this industry to a place where it's become recognized, and pushing cannabis to a place where it's been seen as more than just a illicit drug. And it's all come from the parents of sick people, mainly sick children. The stories of children suffering are the stories that opened our eyes and made us see how cannabis could help anyone who might need it. The children who were only getting worse, we saw them start to get better, and we saw them having a potential at life that they did not have before. We are the believers, and we see the positive benefits of a medical interaction with cannabis. A lot of people still don't. A lot of parents get demonized for helping their children, and sometimes legally penalized for helping their children. the negative opinions of the outside, the negative opinions of others outside the community can be harmful, and generally children and their parents can be excluded, judged, or have other forms of cruel behavior around them. Why? Because parents are trying to keep their kids alive. Cannabis is still negatively labeled as a drug, and it still prompts fears. It is important for all children to know that they are special. It's also important for all children to know that they are included, and it's important for socialization for children to know that they are not different. There is nothing worse than being raised and being taught at a young age that you are part of a subculture in our culture, and it can be extremely damaging to young, fragile psyches. And it's happening a lot with medical cannabis patients who are demonized by their schools, demonized by their classes, demonized by other parents, and seem to be almost, social deviants, when in fact they're just trying to keep themselves alive. Now, this is what I like. That's the main image of what I see Allison's trying to tackle with her book, and she's going to come on and explain why. A place where a child can see his or her life is normalized is a place where a child can feel comfortable. And when reading these books, these rare, sick children who have no other form of life, they'll read all these other books out there and they'll never see themselves within the book. These books, which Allison has created, enable a child to see themselves within it. Now, I know me as a sick child, when I was going through my, at the age of 7, when I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome and I was a special kid in class, I never read books about kids who were in therapy. I never read books about kids who had special needs. I never read books about kids who were social deviants. I never read books about kids who were medicated. I mean, I remember I used to get bullied a lot just because I took normal pharmaceutical pills, because I was seen as
You've never mentioned that before.
Because there's no point in mentioning it when we're talking about random things. I've had a traumatic life, and I did not have cannabis in my life as a child.
One day we'll talk about this, not when we've got a
no, 1,000,000%.
waiting.
But I'm saying I know what it's like to be that kid.
I'm stunned that you were bullied because of that. That's horrible.
Listen,
I had no
bear
idea.
in mind, you're the one kid in class where 3 times a week you get taken out of class for 2 hours, and then when you come back, they ask you where you are, and you're like, "I was in therapy," because that's where you were. You were in art therapy, you were in cognitive behavioral therapy, you were in speech therapy, or wherever I was as a special needs kid to try and make my life better. And what has happened? Yeah, and basically, what happened is it creates this insecurity in you, because you don't know that you are actually okay, even though you're seen as different. And basically, after meeting Allison, I realized what she's trying to do. She's trying to make all these children out there who are medical cannabis patients feel okay. Disney's doing it at the moment as well, not with cannabis, but what Disney's doing is they're trying to create a greater representation within their characters, which represents
let's not get started on Disney.
No, but I'm saying they're trying
Our guest has disappeared.
She has not disappeared.
She has disappeared.
She has not disappeared.
I'm telling you now. Don't forget, I've got all the screens up. She's disappeared. I could see
Let me message Allison and see where she is.
I could see that her screen was flickering, and then now she's gone completely.
Let me see where Allison is.
Talk about my book for an hour.
Definitely, we can.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with CBD whatsoever. Just going to plug the back.
When did you see her disappear?
30 seconds ago.
Okay, she'll come back. I'm sure she'll log back on. But anyway, so in reading, really fingers crossed.
Would you like to phone her? I'll take you off screen. Do you want to phone her?
She just she's messaging me back. It went off.
Oh,
it went back in.
Log back. This is live.
Yeah, I know.
There's nothing like live broadcasting.
I'm very, very sorry. This is what happens when you don't have a producer behind in order to manage this stuff. You got to do it live on air.
Excuse me. I think you're talking about one of the top anyway, the producer wouldn't have been able to help.
I'm sure she'll log back in. I'm going to go on mute quickly. Take me off the screen for 1 second. Let me deal with this.
If the line goes down, the line goes down. There's nothing you can do. I never knew. Right, that Ollie had been. There we are. Hang on, we're back. There you are.
Sorry, it's Ollie's fault.
That's where was it? A comfort break? Was it an emergency? Was it an Amazon delivery at the door? We need to know these things.
Literally, look at the sweat you've just made me go into. I was like, I've got to do a show by myself. I haven't planned for this.
Do a show by yourself. I would, I do an hour and a half stand up. I would have just done part of my stand up, and you would have sat there.
This is the first time I've done this. I've tried. It's Ollie's fault because I tried to put it on Do Not Disturb, and I knocked the whole thing off. So it's not on Do Not Disturb. I don't want to.
Of course, it's Ollie's fault. I blame Ollie for everything.
To be honest with you, I actually realised a long time ago that most things that happen in this world are my fault.
They are.
And I've just come to accept it.
It's a fact. I blame you for recession.
Did you hear any of our introduction?
Right.
I heard the introduction and then it just went off about 2 minutes.
Did you like the introduction?
Yeah, I think you've summed it up pretty beautifully. Yeah, I think it's the premise behind the book. The children going through this every single day of their lives, illegally alive. So yeah, it's their story.
My little mate. And look, literally been carrying it around with me all day since you've given it to me. Literally, since you gave it to me a week ago.
From here, it looks like you've got a little tiny sliver left from a bar of soap. What is it? I can't see what it is.
It's a worry stone.
It's a rose quartz crystal.
Oh, is it? How lovely.
And it's got a really nice thumb print area. Fits my thumb perfectly.
And so what do you do with the worry stone? You just, when someone's worrying you, just throw it at them. That's what I'd do. I'd say, you're really annoying me. Take that. Boom. No.
Don't be mean, Ross.
Love and light.
Love and light.
Love and light. That's what I'm about.
Oh God, we'd last 30 seconds. Right. So anyway, how many books? I'm so thrilled to have anyone who manages to write a book is a hero. End of story. If you've never done it, you think it's a walk in the park, go and try it.
It's the hardest thing in the world.
It's murderously hard. So how many books have you written?
Well,
tell us about the genesis of the books.
So I've wrote about 9 stories, but only published 2 so far. The third one's nearly done. But yeah, it basically Walter the Wizard goes and investigates all different problems. He originated and he had a pair of red shrinking shoes and he used to shrink down to Tiny Town.
Sorry, say that again. He originated where? I missed that. I beg your pardon.
When I first invented him, he had a pair of red shrinking shoes and he used to shrink down to Tiny Town and go in search for clues and investigate different problems. So he's always been a little investigator. And obviously when I had my own journey with cannabis, which I spoke
What was your journey with cannabis? Tell us about like expand on all of these things. Tell us your story, because the main thing is I want everyone to get to know you.
Heavily invested in Walter the Wizard and his little red shoes. Hang on a minute, I want to hear what happens when he goes to Tiny Town. This is great.
He solves lots of problems and lots of different mysteries that other people can't solve, And my journey, going back to that, my journey with cannabis started. I had a gymnastics injury when I was younger and just suffered with chronic pain, all the way through teenage years, going into my early 20s. And I sort of started off and they used to put me on codeine and things like that at the GP. And then it gradually just got worse and worse to the point where they'd put me on oxycodone, OxyContin.
Oh, Christ, really?
It was a real concoction of
real drugs.
And obviously, I'm quite a heightened person in nature generally anyway, but I was I was just a different person when I was on all them tablets, just really lethargic. I was still in 100 times the amount of pain that nothing was getting any easier. And it just got to a point I was on holiday with my children and I just realised that I need to stop having all of these pharmaceutical drugs because they were seeing me off. And I was falling asleep, they were horrendous. So, and then I started researching about CBD and THC and all every aspect of the cannabis plant, really. And I ended up coming off everything. I did it very quickly, which I don't advise anybody to do. But I just wanted off it all. And that was it's probably coming up 6 years now, I think, 6-7 years. And I've only had, CBD, cannabis, that's it now. And
Can I ask you a quick question? As a gymnast, you were like it was a hobby gymnast, or you were like a semi-professional gymnast, or
I went to Germany to compete and France.
Shut up. Okay, fine. So you're like a real gymnast. You're not like a what they call like a tumbler. You're not like a casual cartwheeler.
Mr. Tumble.
You know what they call like a casual cartwheeler? Do you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
odd
I used to do
benign
the vault, the
backflip.
bars, the beam, the floor routines. Yeah, yeah. And it
Wow.
was
Okay, fine. So you were a competitive athlete.
yes, yeah. And
Question: as a competitive athlete, how were you raised to view cannabis?
well, just that it's a really bad thing, you know.
Precisely. There you
That's
go.
nothing good about it. It just sort of sends you loopy, and it's just a bad thing to avoid, you know.
And
Uh,
during your recovery, were you ever pushed away? Right? So did cannabis ever come up as an idea earlier than you started using it? And were you ever pushed away from it, or socially were you interacting with cannabis, but you were almost demonized away from it? Did you used to be an anti-cannabiser? Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh no, I've never been anti-cannabis, but obviously, just the general consensus was that it's not a good thing, you know. So that was the notion and the stigma attached to it. If I'd have known now, if I knew then what I know now, I could have saved sort of 6 years of heartache and for my kids and everything, really. I'm just a big avid, you know, I'm a lover of the truth, and there's truth on both aspects of this. There's, you know, there's the negative side, but there's also the very healing side. And to not be giving them two stream flows of narrative to the next generation, so that they can make an informed decision, so that they can maybe decide to try a CBD before they have you know, the pharmaceutical route, because the adverse effects to the pharmaceutical route, you know, it's no walk in the park. So yeah,
You both know that, as in you both have experiences of that. Russ has had horrible experiences of, you could call it pharmaceutical medication.
Indeed.
You know,
Now, you
very
know,
anti.
this show goes out all over the world, Ali, and this is not me being cheeky, possibly, but a lot of people in America listen to this and they'll be going, "What is that accent?" Because Americans have no. America think that there is London, and that's
I'm
kind of it. That's England.
I'm a multifaceted individual, so it's a bit of everything. My accent, you know, it is northeast, but then I live
It's
down
northeast. Yes,
Yeah.
it's northeast. So if you're listening in America, you know, you can go 20 miles up the motorway, and people speak with very different accents. It's much like somebody from Boston talking to somebody from Tennessee. They're American, but they have different accents. So that's sort of the northeast of England. There we go.
Yeah.
It's got a lovely accent.
No,
like
it's
a
lovely.
real
I know what
English
I
accent.
know what the listeners,
Mega
because this goes out. People can see it, but also when people listen to this, you know, maybe weeks later, and I know that especially in America, they'll be like, well, that doesn't sound, you know,
She doesn't sound like she's from England.
It doesn't sound like Ollie.
Everyone says it's like Newcastle accent.
It
but
is.
If I stand near someone and talk,
I thought you were Geordie.
I thought
you were proper
I thought it was
Geordie. That's quite
Newcastle.
funny.
But if you put me next to a true Geordie, we don't sound anything alike. That's the thing.
Us Londoners, we're so
What do we
narrow-minded,
know?
Russ.
What do
You
we
are
know? If he
posh.
doesn't sound like he comes from Hampshire,
We're all
from
posh. Did you hear that?
No,
We're posh.
You're
I'm
posh.
definitely not posh. Definitely not posh. Rough around the edges more than you can say. Anyway, so
Absolutely.
let's talk more about water. Where
Yeah.
did the idea of water actually come from?
My head.
I know, but like you're walking. No, because as a story writer as well, Russ is a story writer as well. There's always something that triggers. Now I could tell you. I could tell you exactly where like Karma the dog came from, and I could tell you exactly where like my character. Like we had this conversation when we were away about where my characters came from. I remember what the driving force behind me creating the character was. So I understand it came from your head, but like what was the inspiration to make you create Walter the Wizard?
My own kids, I've always been that mum that makes up stories when we're in bed together. Like I would not always read a book. I would make a story up, and then each night when they went to sleep, I would say, "Oh, you'll have to find out what happens tomorrow night," and then we'd get into bed, and then
You're the best mum ever.
She's freaking awesome, right?
I love that.
What's going to happen?
She's like a cool J.K. Rowling, like a really, really cool
J.K. Rowling on her own is damn cool. I'd faint if I met her, but I love that.
So I used to make these stories up, and obviously we used to live next to a beautiful little woodland centre, and I used to always go down there for picnics and stuff. And I used to I've got the imagination of a 7-year-old. It just has never left me. So there wasn't just Walter the Wizard. I mean, there's about 50 characters, you know, floating around with shrinking shoes and everything. You know, it's a magical place in my brain. But it's just been there for. He was just the permanent figure, and then all of the other characters sort of looked on his words of wisdom, kind of thing. And but yeah, it was a long time ago when Walter the Wizard actually popped into my brain. So to sort of remember.
I'm still getting over this, and that's where we've got to leave it for this week. And then you get out of bed, and the kids are going to go to sleep.
Oh, not a
What's
week.
the
I
next
wouldn't make them
part?
wait a week. Just a
No,
night.
I know, but if I break things into weekly
It's
series.
the best thing to do to get children to go to sleep is to get them really, really excited and really pissed off they can't get the end of
Precisely.
something. Best way to send a child to sleep.
Mom, what
It's
happened?
actually
On a
genius, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I haven't got kids, but that's exactly what I would do. Like, give them loads of candy, tell them a really wicked story, not tell them the ending, and just send them off to bed.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't if
Father
you were
of the year,
parent,
Oliver.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. I'm just
Oliver Mammon.
definitely don't buy my parenting book.
I hope your partner's this.
Yes.
So these stories started ages ago. Now, I assume when you were first telling your kids these bedtime stories, the whole idea that cannabis and Walter the Wizard probably weren't linked. What made you bring cannabis into the world of Walter the Wizard? What made you decide to take this brave leap and start writing this book? Because it is very brave. You know, we talked about this when we were away. Like, I've written stories around the world of cannabis. They've always been adult focused. You know, in order to take that leap and to kind of disseminate information and disseminate a story to the youngest group in our population, and like the most vulnerable group in our population, the most influential group in our population, be able to kind of, like you said, you opened yourself up to a lot of criticism. You opened yourself up to a lot of demonization. Like, what made you decide to take cannabis and Walter the Wizard and put them together? I think it's genius. I think it's so necessary in today's world. And I think you've taken such a brave step. And I feel like kids need this education. It's so important, and like, I feel like it will continue to do the job from the ground up, and it's almost some form of positive reinforcement for these children who have no other option. But the ability to put A and B together must have come from somewhere. So, like, what triggered that? What was the interaction that made that idea happen?
So obviously the cannabis plant saved my life. So instantly I felt, that I have to somehow honor this plan or explain to other people that there's another way of doing things here. It's not all just go to the doctors. I mean, I'm not sick. Obviously, some people you've got to be careful. A lot of people do need medication from the doctor. I'm not saying you can't have anything, but there's a lot of things people go on which is unnecessary and that they could have had a holistic route out of it. So obviously it saved my life. I already had Walter the Wizard in my head and, in production in my mind. And I ended up networking a lot with the kids with the mums with seizures, the mums with the kids with seizures, sorry. And I started looking into all of that, doing a lot of research in that. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, quite frankly. And the statistic is sort of, there's around 65,000 children in the UK today suffering with multiple tonic seizures. There's around 700 adults and around 65,000 kids. And the kids are having sometimes up to 300 tonic seizures every single day. And then I read an even more harrowing fact that was 25 of these children will die each and every week. So that haunted me. And I thought, hang about, this can't be right, that this is going. These kids have got all this shame. The mums are having to, I couldn't even begin to put myself in them parents' shoes because...
Can you repeat those figures again? Because we haven't actually... So we've had Hannah Deacon on the show. We've had Tanine Montgomery on the show. We've had, Karen Gray on the show. We've actually had an amazing amount of these parents come in and tell their stories. We had Jade Proudman come on as well, who told her story, and she's working very closely with Charlotte's Web. And so we've heard a lot of these stories, but no one's ever dropped that figure. She said 700 adults, 65,000 children, and 25 of those will die every single week, which means that there's 100 kids dying. So there's 1,200 kids dying every single year, guaranteed, because their treatment doesn't work for them, basically.
Well, the thing for me was that I found out, obviously, that these children are they're getting put on ketamine. They're having steroids. All the body's swelling up. They can't move. They've got chronic diarrhea. They'd sometimes go to extremes to remove parts of the child's brain, all before offering them a plant-based medicine. So for me, I just see it as my brain can't compute it. So, it's a very delicate subject, and I'm very aware of that when it's cannabis and kids. But the thing is, as well, throughout this book, I've called the plant cannabis. I haven't called it hemp. I haven't called it CBD. We need to just from the ground up, it's the truth. It's the whole truth, about this. And I feel like their story absolutely needs to be known, and people need to realize, you know, without having all this shame attached to it, just normalize the plant, and education is key. You know, educate them on the pros and the cons. It's not about, if you're just giving one narrative, it's an agenda. It's not truth. So, and it's just serving an injustice to the people. You know, people could be making better choices for themselves. They could be getting out of bad situations. You know, I honestly feel like we need to have an open, honest discussion about it. No one's advocating. I'm not pushing the plant on kids. And nowhere in that book does it mention, you know, going and rolling a joint. It's all about the factors of it, and how it is saving children's lives. So I think that story needs to be out there, really.
Can I wind back a little bit here, Ali? You're a professional athlete. You're in horrible pain. They're putting you on heavier and heavier, heading towards opioids, frankly. And we all know about them.
It was full on opioids, yeah.
Yeah, like Oxy is like the worst drug in the world.
Well, I said what I meant was that they'd started and it was they were ramping it up.
Oh, yeah,
except for fentanyl, she's basically had the entire concoction of the cocktail bar, hasn't she? So I mean, like it's.
Yeah, and of course we don't want any of that in the UK. Thank you, America. We love your air conditioning and convenience food, but we don't.
It's arrived, dude.
No,
it's here. Fentanyl's here.
Yeah, I know fentanyl.
Here.
Yeah, I know we don't want any of that stuff. We also don't want
issues.
No win, no fee. But there we are. That's America for you. What then went into your mind? What was the trigger that you thought, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this a go. What was the genesis of that?
You mean why I decided to come off?
Yeah, what you know, I understand the other things were really hurting you, but what made you think, well, this might work? Had somebody said to you, I've had an injury and I'm doing this, or what?
Yeah, well, I used to joint manage a hotel, and you know, I had to be very sort of mentally focused. You know, just running it was a big, massive building, and obviously had 2 small children and just a very active life. And the tablets that they put me on, I would literally be sat at my desk and just fall asleep, literally it would just wipe me out completely, and to the point where I couldn't do my job anymore at that moment in time. And I was in a wheelchair, like it was really bad. And I just thought there must be another way to this. And I just, you know, it was like a profound moment to me, as if I just received a message that, you know, this is sort of the journey you need to go on now. And it was a really hard, tough journey to go on, but I just knew I had to do it, you know. And
after meeting you last week, you are like the most bouncy, bubbly person. I mean, literally, you were like floating around the room. I mean, it was kind of wonderful. I mean, during the setup on Tuesday, I mean, me and you were just literally doing our little rounds and like crossing each other's paths every so often, having a little bit of banter, and then going on our separate ways.
So had you met prior to Barcelona?
No, never met her. But I mean, you know, sometimes positive energy in the room attracts the positive energy in the room. And she's a writer, and I've got my writing background. I've heard about her before. Actually, no, so like I've never heard of Allison, but I've heard about what Allison was doing. I actually have heard of Walter, and I've heard of these books that were written for, you know, like this anti-demonization of cannabis. I heard about it, but I've just never seen them. And when I saw it, I was like, oh shit. I had a little moment. I was like, I know, I've seen this before. I've heard of this before. I've had a little, this has been on my radar. And we started talking, and I like the energy behind. The main thing is she's not an activist. So I was really freaking worried when I first heard about these books that they were going to be, you know, all kids should be smoking joints, all kids should be doing this, but it's not that. And when I sat with her and I spoke to her, I was like, she's actually probably one of the least vocal cannabis advocates out there, because it's not about cannabis. It's about understanding. It's not actually about the plant, as in if there was another magical plant that saved kids and this was also being demonized, you would write about that in order for kids to not feel bad. And having been that child who looked around the room and just knew that he was the odd one out and never saw any stories of myself in books, all right, I never saw any stories about myself on TV. And anytime they did talk about mental health on TV, it was like, oh my God, he's a lunatic, he's bad. Yeah. And it put me in this position where for a very long time, I saw myself as being on the negative side of the spectrum. And I kind of like the fact that there is this positive, connotation being created around cannabis. It's something we've spoken about so many times, Russ. We've talked about this demonization and about how, yes, cannabis is not right for everyone, but it is right for some people. And those people it is right for need to know that it's right for them. And the people it's wrong for need to know it's wrong for them. And it is a discussion. It's not a
Absolutely.
yes for everyone or a no.
It's a big theme with this show. So there you are. You're in a wheelchair, for heaven's sake.
Well, it wasn't all the time, but yeah, when we'd gone on holiday and stuff, there was occasions where I'd have to get a wheelchair. Yeah,
bloody hell.
It's just
Right.
so
So
degrading.
did you?
like-
So I'm still trying to dig into how you thought I'll give cannabis a go.
I just
Instead-
reached a point where I couldn't go on anymore on them tablets. They were killing me. They were absolutely killing me. They were destroying our family. You know, it doesn't just affect you; it affects everyone you live with. It affects your children. You know, your energy. You put
Russ definitely knows this. Russ has suffered a lot with this stuff. Like he hates opioids.
I'm with you on this, but had you done research? I'm just trying to dig a little deeper here. Had you done research?
So I didn't even go on the CBD straight away. I just decided to come off everything. And then obviously the withdrawals and everything is that bad at the time that I think someone had said about, I can't remember specifically, but someone had mentioned, have you tried CBD, the whole plant extract? And that's what I started on. And that's all I had. I wasn't having THC or anything when I was coming off them tablets. I literally did it just with CBD.
So similar stuff to what I made for you, Russ. You know, so like the drops. Just
like the drops.
Yeah, very
But
simple.
it was the whole plant extract, yeah.
To come off, you're supposed to wean yourself off pharmaceuticals gently. To just stop cold turkey is really
And I stopped all of it.
hardcore.
Not one tablet.
I do love the fact that Russ has given you this advice 9 years after the fact. Okay. By the way, just to let you know, cold turkey is dangerous.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. You didn't hear me. What I said was it was very hardcore.
Yeah,
I was paying our guest a compliment. I wasn't giving her advice at all. That's not my place.
If I get
Strong
my
as
mind
hell.
set on something, nothing will get in the way of it. You know, that's just the sort of human I am. But yeah, it was a horrible, horrible thing to come off. Let me tell you.
How long was the transition period?
6 weeks.
In case I asked this, Ali, because if other people are thinking, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, they need to know what's coming down the road towards them. So how long?
First and foremost, obviously, to do it gradually, because I think, you can kill yourself doing it the way that I did it. It took for in total, I would say it took 6 weeks for me to get over them withdrawals. Yeah.
Ow. And please note, just for, on behalf of Men's Radio Station, we are not advising that you do this. Do not think that we are proposing that this is a great way forward. Do not try it. Do not try this at home.
And if
or
you
anywhere
do,
else,
it's not our responsibility.
No, but don't do it.
Very important. Russ and the radio station do not take responsibility for anyone going
we
cold
do not.
turkey from Oxy.
We do not. Don't try it. It's not.
But good luck on your journey.
Precisely so. So 6 weeks. You see, I'm fascinated by people's determination and what makes them different and stand out. There you are. You're a professional athlete. That alone takes dedication, determination, and focus. During that 6 weeks, did you think I've made a terrible mistake here? I'm feeling even worse.
I was questioning my own reality on a daily basis, you know. But I just the fight to come off it and to finally find myself again which just overtook everything else. You know, it was just that was what was happening, and that's just the way I am. You know, I'll do the right thing by myself. You know, it might take me a little while, but I always know what the right thing to do for myself is. And, you know, I think you've just got to want more for yourself as well. A lot of people don't see, they just accept the lot and the doctor said this or someone, you know, I'll always be like this. It's a real lack mentality that society has now, you know, well, not everyone, but a lot of people do. And I think you've just got to want more for yourself, want better for yourself and do it, you know, half the time.
When you were taking the drugs, so when you were taking the Oxy and stuff like that, so you're a very bubbly person. You've got a lot of soul. Did you find that your personality disappeared?
Oh, completely, yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. And so when you look in the mirror or you have a conversation with yourself and you stop to recognize who you are, do you know what I mean? I think that's what happened to you as well, Russ, right? You became a shadow of yourself.
Well,
a visitor in your...
It's not about me. It's all about our guest. We could talk about all that.
So I've got more questions.
Time. We love your cup, by the way. Can we see your cup again? It's really
got little,
isn't that lovely? That's really stylish.
So, Alison, let me carry on my story.
Yeah.
Getting published, which is the hardest thing in the world anyway, let alone when you're trying to publish a book that most people probably can't get their heads around. How was your journey getting published? Did you try and go down the, what's it called?
Traditional route.
Yeah, the traditional route, working with a publisher, or did you, like what was that journey?
I had a couple of meetings with people, and they were saying to me, about like changing the word cannabis and things like that. And I just said, no, that's it's about removing the stigma. So I want to start as I mean to go on. I don't want to start off by having a stigma attached to the book that I wrote to remove the stigma. It was just like, let's just call the plant what the plant's called. And just people know they don't want to, especially with it being children. I mean, it's such a sensitive area, cannabis and children in the same sentence. People just like are horrified. So yeah, it's been the most isolating journey I've been on, definitely, because with it being the first in the UK, like everyone's just been a bit like, what's she doing, but I've just had to keep myself to myself, go inward and do what I know I needed to do.
Because you've received negative stigma from like inside and outside the community, right? I remember like last week at the show, I heard someone make a comment to you, which was something like, so you're just trying to get kids to smoke joints. I'm sitting there thinking, this is if anything, this room should be the room that supports you. And it's just a little bit, it's not fair how people jump straight to judgment.
But that's clearly, one of the great things about life is everyone's an expert, and they say, have you read this? Or did you see it? And they go, well, no, but. And you go, well, you're an idiot. Either read the thing that you're criticizing, or watch the thing, or listen to the thing. Then you have as right as everybody does to have an opinion, doesn't it? But it's just at the end of ultimately, it's only your opinion. Doesn't mean it's right.
Unless you're in the room, you don't know what actually happened. Unless you've read the book, you don't know what's happening. So many people are so quick to turn around and be like, well, I know. And I was like, were you there? No. Well, how do you know then? Have you read it?
My friend the hairdresser told me, Fred Smith up the road said, and his brother-in-law once, it's all rubbish. So you didn't go, so the publishers, because I don't know the genesis of this, did you self-publish you did self-publish?
So you just self-publish, yeah.
And then how did you disseminate the books? How did you get them out there?
I've just I don't put pressure on myself with anything like that. I believe, they're going to reach the people they're meant to reach, like on a more of an organic thing. Everyone has a go at me for this. You need you're a bit.
I don't understand. See, I am the absolute opposite of you, which is why I look the way I do. I've never been a professional athlete, but here's the thing: I don't understand that because it's like not magic foofle dust that is going to say, as people go.
It is.
No, it's not magic. How did you?
You haven't found your magic yet, then.
Probably not. I would imagine I haven't. I think I once did in 1966. Now then, what? So how did people become aware of your books? Is my question.
I managed to get it printed and have a physical object in my hand, and then I started sending the kids that were in that situation because I wanted them to just feel normalized. I wanted them to, at least within their households, feel like, we're not doing anything, it's just a plant. It totally removes the stigma.
Keep it still on. We'd like to see it. Put it up to your camera.
Some of the artwork in this is just epic.
Put it up to the camera. Keep it lovely and still, because we'd love to. Oh, look at this. That's adorable, isn't it?
The problem is I can't actually see.
If you're only listening to this, and I know people listen to this on all sorts of different various streams, especially across America, the artwork is Oliver's holding up the book to the camera, and the artwork is absolutely superb, adorable, beautiful artwork.
I just want to read the back page so you guys understand the logic. Walter is a wizard on a mission to help his friend Titch, who is suffering from having seizures. Younger and older readers alike will enjoy and learn from Walter and his friend Terence, the troll, as they explore the benefits of cannabis and CBD in their hope to give Titch the quality of life she deserves. It's like it's all about it's about the sufferers out there realizing that they're not alone. It's about the sufferers out there realizing that we know their journey's okay, and it's about these kids realize. I think it's very beautiful, and I think the work she's put in is incredible.
One of the themes, and I hate to put the spotlight on you, Ollie, but one of the themes is that it's okay to be different, which clearly wasn't the case in your child. I absolutely love it.
Titch is so cute.
The whole
Why would
thing
you
is
want
beautiful.
her to suffer, guys? Why would you want her to be sick? Why would
Well,
anyone
we
want
wouldn't,
that?
and
Let
there
Titch
we
be
are.
happy.
The author has carried through her whole premise. So, this is a silly question, but it just spikes my curiosity. Did you know these other children that were suffering, or is there a list, or how did you track them down?
Well, I got one of the first people, because what it was when I was obviously doing my research for writing the book. I'd sent it to, I don't know if you know Miguel Wise, Mike Wise, sure. Well, he's
yeah, I've heard of Mike Wise. I've heard of Mike
yeah,
Wise.
in the Netherlands and that. He does a lot of stuff in Poland and places like that. But he's done a lot of work with like Simper and people like that. So I thought you might have heard of him. But yeah, so I sent
No, I've seen the Mike Wise show on LinkedIn. I just didn't know who Miguel was. I've seen the Mike Wise show.
That's his name, yeah, but it's called Mike Wise. But like me with me many names, like you were saying. But so I just I sent it to him, and I also sent it to the Sisters of the Valley, the Weed Nuns in California. So these two organizations basically took me under their wing, and I was sort of asking them for advice and what do you think this looks like, how do you think it's, and they both just said that we think it's great, and Mike ended up taking it to some ski slopes and like taking the hard copy. So it was just like that. I was just getting feedback. It was like a prototype, really, just to send out, see what people thought. There's never been a notion behind it, I'm going to sell all these books, I'm going to do, that's just not been behind this. So I just sent it to them. I got the feedback from them. Then through meeting them, met Joanne Griffiths, Karen Gray, some of the mums that were going through this, and obviously did interviews with them, got their feedback and the journeys that they'd gone on, which totally resonated with me being an empath anyway. So I just thought, right, let's really get this message out there, and let's change the stigma and try and create a wave, really, so that people look at the plant, in both aspects instead of just on a negative level.
I get that.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Your whole because men's radio station and women's radio station as well, but men's radio station is all about mental health and well-being, which is why Ollie's show is important. But what is very interesting about this, nothing to do with CBD, nothing to do with the whole cannabis debate, is your mental attitude to this. There's a lot of things which have come out of this. If I could take a little time to unpack it, because it's fascinating. Number one, as a former professional athlete, you need so much focus and so much dedication. And you need bravery, because you're obviously going to get injured and you have to bounce back from those injuries. My idea of exercise is just walking my dog. That's it, right? No, I hate sport. So you then get horribly injured, you're in horrible pain, you're on very, very heavy opioids, and you decide, and it takes huge strength to say, no, I'm not doing this. This is killing me. It's destroying my relationships. I want to be here for my kids. And you come off them cold turkey, which as I said, we don't recommend. And you had 6 weeks of hell, and then you try something which is experimental, and it works for you. And then you decide, no, I need to spread the word, but not really through commercial. There seemed to be no commercial aspect to this. There's a lot of love in that book. I mean, those illustrations are just fantastic. And your mental attitude was, well, it'll just happen. Somehow it'll be carried on the breeze of life and it'll get out there. Whereas I push the arse out of everything that I do and, promote it like crazy, because I don't think that I have the opposite view. So it's really interesting. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong, but it's really interesting it worked for you.
I think when you listen to your own rhythm and you're into, universal energies like I am, I think you understand that you could never force anything. You can never force a person, you can never force a situation to happen. Yes, you can sort of work really, really hard and do everything you can, but you probably burn yourself out in the process. I just honestly have the belief that, I've done this for a reason, and it will get to the people it needs to get to. And and that is the way that I do things. I won't put that pressure on myself. I've done that in the past, and it's never been a good thing, and I'll never, like a lot of people chase, like, the proverbial dream, and that's a functionally gain. And like, for me, I think if you have to always come from that good intent. You have to do the right thing. If you're coming out of any other angle of it, I don't think it'll work again. So it's not something that everyone could do, no, but there's lots of people seeing it now from all around the world, you know, and that's literally from me doing what I've said to you there. So it's just the way.
And where do people buy it? Is it on Amazon, or do they have to go on your website? I have no idea. How's it sold?
I've got a website. Obviously, some of the shops are stocking it. I know a few in Northern Ireland do, and there's some in America, but mainly it's just off my website at the minute.
And what is your website?
It's just walterthewizard.com.
So sweet.
Can I go back a little bit?
Wizard.com.
I just had a little momentary mind blank. So basically, I've got two questions here. First one is, so when you first created Walter, what was his character? So when you were first telling the stories of Walter to your kids, all right, what was the character of Walter the Wizard? Has his character developed over time? And the stories, the stories you told your children about Walter the Wizard and what Walter the Wizard does now, was it the same sort of tone? As in the character you invented all that time ago, was it the same sort of character as the character who you're writing about now?
I did do Walter a long time ago, 10 years ago, and I'd done a little skit for the kids where it was watching out for the dangers in the home, you know, like the iron and don't touch candles and things like that. This was probably 10 years ago now, but I had it done into a full animation, so I've got a cartoon of that. It's really funny to see how fast the illustrations have come on, you know, leveled up, so to speak, from when I first started it. But yeah, it's always been the wizard that's, you know, but I'm going to integrate the red shiny shoes, so don't worry about that. We'll get them back in there soon. But it's basically for other problems that he would go down to Tiny Town, and then that's when Worm would show him all the dangers in the home, and Firefighting Fly would come along. And it's always been like that, yeah. But obviously not with cannabis. But the second book I've just published, obviously, is all about unhelpful thoughts and everything. So it's all just, he investigates all of this sort of stuff.
And by the way, onto my second point, which was kind of theoretically, I should have done my second point first and my first point second, because I'm going back to the comment we just made, but that's just the way my brain works. So when you talk about this, the whole idea of, you know, you just kind of let fate kind of lead its path, and this whole idea of, you know, it's like a underlying spirituality where you really believe you can't force things and everything happens for a reason. So I'm a very strong believer of that as well. Yeah. I believe that you can, you know, you can make the move, but there's nothing to say what the move against you will be. Yeah. So therefore, there's nothing to see if you're going to be blocked or not blocked at every single level. Now, yeah, you can push, and yeah, you can strive, and yeah, there's, you know, that energy behind, but then there's not forcing things. And I really do, I do believe in that as well. And, you know, that whole idea of, you know, like fate or maktub or beshet, you know, it's all these ideas which are like, you know, like what will be type thing. And not, it doesn't mean like leave it to be, but it does mean like you can't force it to be.
But for me as well, you know, we all as humans feel that void, you know, like you're lacking something in somewhere, whether it's, you know, in your job, in your relationship, in your friendships, in just, you know, your social life, anything like that, you can feel unfulfilled. And I just, you know, I feel like I fill my time with my artwork, my writing. Like, I really enjoy doing these things. So it's not like a job to me. That I have my own business, but obviously this is my passion project. So I just enjoy doing it. You know, I enjoy when I get a chance to do it. That's it's part of me. So I'm quite introverted person in general. I'm like a sociable loner, I suppose. But I do like my own time, and I like to do that, you know.
Who does the illustrations, which are fantastic?
I have a guy in India I've worked with again for about 9 years, Manas, but he won't go with this book because of the stigma attached to it over there with this one, which is a shame. But obviously it's just the legalities are totally different in every country, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's very hard.
Yeah,
I've got a question for you. It's a bit of a wrong question. Don't get annoyed at me, and feel free to not answer it. Do you ever regret turning Walter the Wizard into a pro-cannabis character?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
It's just, you know, this world can be very tolling, and the opinions and criticisms can be rife. And do you ever feel like, you know, do you ever regret putting your head above the parapet? Do you ever wish you had another idea that wasn't so like negatively labeled? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like a lot of people do that, and I just wanted to ask. So as I said, you feel free not to answer. Feel free to bite my head off.
I don't know. I don't seek the validation from people. It's not for everyone, so you're never going to please everybody. And I'm a firm believer in not forcing your opinion down someone's throat neither. Like everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has free will. Come and go as they please. Like believe what they want. But I just believe in the education, and I believe that there should be two streams of narrative going over each other, from when you grow up, so that you just know that side of it and you know that side of it, and you make your own decision at the end of it. I mean, it's like common sense has left the building. If we're going to take it back down to you can't tell them anything good about this plant, well, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But it's just a difficult thing for the eye to see cannabis with kids' books, I think. So that's the
yeah. It's a bear trap waiting for the Daily Mail, to be honest with you. Here's the thing. That and it's to do with mental health again. As a former professional athlete, there is no way you leave these things to, let's just call it fate or the universe. You've got to work your socks off and practice and practice and practice. And to win, you do have to impress the other people, because you've got to be better than them. And I don't know, are there judges? I mean, I'm thinking about, are there judges who put up scores? I have no idea. But what it's there we go. You are the Anton
La
Dubek,
France, 6 points.
Anton Dubek and Shirley Ballas. And Motsi, I love all that. So it's very different. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a different mindset.
Well,
you're trying to impress other people with athletics
into a different human being every 10 years. So the person that, the child I was doing all the gymnastics is not the individual that I am now. You know what I mean? There's obviously still attributes, and I've still got determination. I mean, I work at really random hours throughout the day. I'll probably start work at 3 a.m. some mornings, and I'll work till 7 o'clock, and then I'll probably have a nap like around 11 o'clock. Like I don't have a day like most people do, I suppose.
It's the joy of being a
not
creative,
this person. not this person.
When I used to write, I used to do that. I used to start writing about 2 a.m. and then get to bed about 6, and then sleep till about 12, and then do my day job till about 8, and then have dinner, and then about 1 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, start all over again. It's not very regimented, and a lot of professional writers will criticize that as they'll call it like manic writing. But in reality, I do believe that every creative has their own process to succeed. And
that's nonsense, Ollie. That's absolute nonsense to criticize it. There is no
because I used to get that. I used to get
rubbish.
that.
Well, they don't
I know, and I used to tell them, I was like, okay, that's
about.
because it's not your way of doing it. But it is difficult.
What they're talking about. You cannot be prescriptive about writing. You write when you want to write.
So that's what I always believed. That's what I always believed.
It's
I
true.
got a lot of criticism when I was writing that apparently I was being manic, and I was like, I'm not being manic. I'm just writing.
Ollie,
it's not fair, is it?
Whole life, it's if you don't fit into a certain category or a box for them, through someone else's eyes, then they can't make sense of it. But I don't. It doesn't worry me that, because
if you're not a success, you're a failure. But there is a middle ground. You know what I mean? They're succeeding in different ways. Success is a very personal feeling.
Exactly.
One person can feel success after making a roast chicken,
or all the eyes around you, and I'm not seeking it from the eyes around, because it's once you start that game, it's like, even when I put a video on, I turn the likes and stuff off, because I just aren't interested in that side of it. I know that I've put the information out there. Whoever it's meant to resonate, it will resonate with, and then I go about my day, and I'll think of the next thing to do. Like the 3 o'clock in the morning, I seem to receive the most information to write about stuff, and even poetry and things like that, and it just seems to happen around 3 o'clock in the morning. So that seems to be my little time. But again, it doesn't fit in narrative of you get up at 9 and you go, or whatever. But I just go to my own beat of my own drum. I think that's just the way that I am.
Well, there's absolutely no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong with this. Obviously in industry, it has to work to a time schedule. You can't start up a car factory when you're in the mood. It has to run on a schedule. But other things can run whenever they need to run. So it's quite simple.
I've got one more question. Last question, because I know we're running out of time.
Could I just say about as well?
What's the best thing that water's taught you? What's the most important thing that you've learned from water?
Good one.
Walter's taught me to totally be myself, totally stand in my own truth, and just, And as long as you're coming from a good place and you want the best for people and humanity, and just stand up for what you believe in, and speak the truth all the time. You know, don't live in a lie, live in your truth. Yeah.
No, hold it up a bit, up, other way, up. Lovely. I love the illustrations. They're absolutely fantastic.
It's just
Really lovely. They're charming. They're charming
as well.
And cannabis book, because I think mental health and chronic pain and
There we go.
like that go hand in hand. Power to the people.
Well, they do. They do. You know, chronic pain, mental health, well-being. It's a gigantic subject. It's a fascinating subject, and we end up talking about it for ages. Allison Littlefield, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for accepting Ollie's invitation to come on to the ABC of CBD.
Honestly, thank you so much for sharing your story, Ali.
Thank you for having me on.
We wish you all the very best. You know, keep doing what you're doing. I think it's important, and I think you've done it. And it sounds so patronizing, but it's not meant to be. You've done it in a really charming, creative, and very, very interesting way. And I think for that, you know, major props to you. We will be back same time next week, 6 o'clock on a Thursday. Me and Ollie, it'll be show 98. Oh my goodness me. Until then, stay safe, everybody.